for joining us at the Cheatin the Verse podcast. My name's Carrie. I'm the co-creator and physics consultant.
Hi, what's up? I'm Zach, the creator and the lead designer.
Hey, I'm Jack. I'm here to have a good time.
It should be noted that Jack is our sound engineer and Jack is a computer program. Once we start doing video podcasts, he will be visually represented via oscilloscope. If you don't know what an oscilloscope is, don't worry about it. You'll see.
Don't talk to me like I'm not here.
Jack's always got that attitude.
Whoever downloaded his consciousness onto a computer also brought along all his glorious amounts of sass.
I don't sass.
That's what a liar sounds like, ladies and gentlemen. Computers can lie now.
Can they? I was not aware.
We'll start with About the Game. We're broadcasting to you from Starbase 2740. And Zach, you want to start with the name of our game and what it's all about?
Yeah, we're working on a game called Cheatin the Verse right now. We've been working on it for like a year and a half.
Year and some change.
Year and some change? I don't know. Time passes at a fairly irregular rate. I don't.
Welcome to tomorrow.
Welcome. Yesterday. But it's today, but yesterday's tomorrow. Yeah, so this is basically, it's a tabletop role-playing game, much akin to D&D and Pathfinder. The major spin on it is that it is a sci-fi, bigger setting.
Science fiction sounds.
Okay. I was worried that you were having a seizure. So yeah, we're trying our very hardest to get the groundwork down, and then once we're big enough and we start producing these podcasts, which would be now.
And we want to make the podcast so everyone can be involved in the process, and it'll be an easier game to understand. And we really want to make this game a truly by fans, for fans game, so contact us if you have any ideas. We'd love to hear it.
Or if, Carrie was wrong about something that he thinks he's right about.
Yeah, that's a very big thing. We really want to hold ourselves accountable to the information that we put out on this podcast based on theoretical deep space propulsion, things like that. Things that I only have a rudimentary understanding of.
I forget how to count to 20 sometimes, so...
That's good that you have a D20.
Yeah, actually, that's
You'll find a 20 at some point.
Yeah, it's on there, I know that.
Yeah, it'll
from
be,
experience, mostly.
You'll get around there.
So let's explain what our roles are. I'm the science consultant. I'm currently an aerospace engineering student. I absolutely am fascinated by theoretical deep space propulsion, which is basically just means of traveling around the galaxy or maybe universe at a velocity greater than the speed of light, or as you'll commonly hear me refer to it as, V greater than C, velocity greater than speed of light. And I also design weapons for the game. Pretty much anything that has to do with the science content, I had some kind of hand in.
Alright.
What's your role, Zach?
Well, aside from putting up with you.
It's a tough task.
Yeah, and also having an apartment.
Yeah. I couldn't handle that.
It gets to be a bunch. I'm sorry, I love you. This is originally my concept. I laid the groundwork for it in the first place. I do mostly the actual design work on the game because Carrie is not quite as educated as...
I have no interest in learning mechanics of tabletop role-playing games.
Yeah, I mostly test and balance the game. That's kind of what my entire role is. Seeing if Carrie's ridiculously overpowered ideas for weapons can be made to not be complete game ruiners.
Yeah, but what I mean by that, the inner workings, I play tabletop role-playing games. I just don't... Oh my god, this just sounds like so much unnecessary work that Zach has to do.
Yeah.
Not unnecessary, but tedious. Good god.
Yeah.
That's the work.
Yep.
Them's the breaks.
And Jack is a professional Smash player.
Mm-hmm.
You have an advantage when you actually don't have hands.
I can...
Yeah,
that
it's
is
just
true.
a direct link to his consciousness.
Yeah.
So when you're playing Smash, do you, see through the eyes of Captain Falcon?
I am actually Captain Falcon in the game.
That's interesting. So do you feel the pain, too, or is your...
Captain Falcon feels no pain.
Is your nervous system gone?
I don't feel anything now.
That's
it makes it easier now. Just
to
kinda
murder
running.
countless hordes
Well,
of...
just in case you were forgetting, orgasms are still pretty good.
I would not know.
I love it when you laugh at your own jokes.
I'm funny.
I agree, but not everything warrants a laugh from me. And it makes me really happy when you laugh, because your laugh sounds fake. Every time.
That should be a quick disclaimer. My laugh is not fake. My laugh, unfortunately, sounds like that.
It's fucking preposterous. It's like you're suffocating a small mammal.
My laughs go to that really high-pitched laugh.
So getting back to it,
let's
the oscilloscope is flashing a big sign that says off topic. So the difference, why we would ever make it a game that is exactly like D&D and Pathfinder and Dark Heresy and Numenera, etc., is beyond me, which is why this one's different. We're going to talk about that for a little bit. The biggest thing is that in D&D you use a D20 as your die that you use for everything. We don't use that. We use the D100, which is basically just two 10-sided dice, because it's a percentile die. It gives us a bigger range of values that you can achieve with it. And if you're going to use range combat majoritively, it really doesn't make sense to use the D20. It limits it too much, and it makes combat even more boring than it already is.
It makes combat a little bit more of a math problem.
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit easier. D20, it's like, I need to roll this and get this above. The D100, I could fail this at this percent. Let's go for it.
Did we explain that dice are...
The D20 is a 20-sided dice. The D100 is a quote-unquote 100-sided dice. 10, two. One's a digit die, and one is for increments of 10.
Yeah.
Furthermore, if you're going to do range combat, in D&D it makes sense because you have armor and such that might deflect arrows or different kinds of weapons and projectiles. I'm shooting Carrie at point-blank range with a gun. Mm-hmm. His shirt's not going to act as an armor class. Mm-hmm. So instead, if I'm trying to shoot Carrie from X amount of feet away, it's more reliant on my skill with a certain kind of weapon. Your capability to hit somebody in Cheating the Verse is 90% just dependent on your skill with that type of weaponry. So if I'm really good with like revolvers and pistols and such like that, I'll have a much higher chance to hit him than if I pull out an LMG. And then there are things like combat modifiers. So if he's behind cover, it's going to be harder to hit him, and that's represented numerically on the percent die.
It should be noted, however, that the use of revolvers is being employed because we plan on having a Space Cowboy / Firefly type theme going on. Too,
yeah.
As well as a Star Trek theme, and as well as a Battlestar and a Stargate.
And technically, you can do Star Wars.
You're going to hear some references.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to see some inspiration, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, other different things. Carrie, do you want to talk about bonds for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Bonds are a means of gaining XP rapidly, and it's also a clever way to promote role-playing, which we think is the most important part of a role-playing game.
That is true.
Yeah, most of the words.
So, bond is, I think it's already employed.
Yeah, it comes back from
a different game.
Yeah, it comes back from, I believe it's called Knights of the Round Table. It was used lightly, if I'm not mistaken.
So, bonds are an agreement you enter in with another player in the game where you resolve a difference or you come up with something new, such as race-based bond. I am an android, Commander Wickstrom. I'm a pilot. And Jack, what's your character? The Korasp. So, Korasp.
Highly emotive. They're empaths.
Okay, so a good bond would be being a machine with a primitive version of an emotional program. I don't understand the Korasps and their deep connections with emotions. And then there would be a counter to Jack's character would say something like,
the agreement doesn't have to be consensual. If I'm playing the android and Jack is playing the Korasp, my bond can be, he acts too much on his own emotions, he can't think logically, I don't trust him. And that can be resolved when he proves me wrong or he proves me right. And whether or not Jack's character even knows that I don't trust him is completely irrelevant. It's done through the actual role-playing and the events that happen in the game.
They could also be during, combat situations like, is this person going to have my back in a fight? And you met with, some sort of combat situation, and, I'm pinned down here, maybe so-and-so is going to help me, and it turns out they actually flee away from them. So
that's still a resolution.
It's resolving it, but for a negative side effect, which,
you still are rewarded with the XP for, because the point is that character development, that is, story arcs that are happening, which
and so then,
is the fun of it.
The next bond would be alright, I definitely don't trust this person, I'm going to screw them over next time I get the chance.
Exactly, it gets deeper and deeper.
Some of these things are going to be a little difficult to grasp at first, but stick with us. We're going to cover them, and we're going to cover it through entertaining content that you'll be happy to listen to, I assure you.
And we'll get a little bit more into detail on that. The last thing I want to talk about is the dual class system. If I'm not mistaken, wholly unique. So when you create a character, which is something we're going to be doing in a little bit here, you pick a race from our list of races, pick a class, much like D&D, and then you pick a subclass. So you have two classes. The classes are more like archetypes, backgrounds, or your disposition towards things. So the three we have are Soldier, Scoundrel, and Scout, which is basically fighter, talker, thinker. And it gears your character in a certain direction without limiting them too much. And then the subclass is more like your occupation or your job. So if you're the medic, that is your subclass. You are the ship's medic or the ship's pilot in Carrie's example.
My class subclass and race is scout, pilot, android.
Exactly, which is a very intelligence-based class combination, really. And as a result, Carrie has a lot of potential when he's piloting a ship, but he is not as strong as, say, the Terralac, which is one of our races, soldier and a gunslinger, who have almost limitless combat potential, but not really as much elsewhere. So yeah, the dual class system, it helps you gear your character a little more direct, and it diversifies the characters a little bit so that you don't have 3 wizards sitting at your table. You could have 3 soldiers sitting at your table, but one of them could be the gunslinger, one of them could be your pilot, and one of them could be a psyker, which would be crazy, and we'll touch more on psykers later because those are a really fun class. If you've ever played Warhammer anything, you already know what that is, more or less. So once again, thank you for tuning into the Cheatin' the Verse podcast. This is the developmental podcast. This is where we're going to talk about the changes we're making to the game, and, you know, what specifically is going on with the rules of the game.
Basically, you get to watch us make the game itself, and that's where your input comes in. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, we love contributions to things we say wrong and different ideas for how the game should work. But in addition to that, we're also going to try to do a weekly, maybe 3-4 hour session of Cheatin' the Verse played by a group of people that we know, including Jack the Oscilloscope and Carrie Venasiak and a few other people. Jim Calorie is his last name.
And I forget Sam's last name.
Imaginary friend Sam and Danielle Tier and possibly Melissa. So yeah,
names of people.
Those
we're name possibly not exist.
We are name dropping.
We could just make them up as we go.
Yep.
We're going to be joined by Drake, Josh.
So, yeah, we're also thinking about doing some other things, like some fun drunken board game nights, things like that. Let us know what you're interested in seeing us making fools of ourselves doing. For now, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hey guys, it's Carrie, co-creator and science consultant for Cheatin' the Verse. I'm here to tell you about our exciting sponsor this week. We're sponsored by Insomnex. Insomnex, an all-unnatural sleep aid made by harnessing the powers of virulent chemicals harvested straight from the waste fields of Zactar 5. Side effects may include, but not limited to, 8 hours of conscious sleeping, uncontrollable lucid nightmares, narcolepsy, hypnophobia, temporary paralysis, abnormal sudden intimate diarrhea. Do not take Insomnex if you are pregnant, may become pregnant, or impregnate someone else. Only available in suppository. Insomnex. Transcend the primitive human need for sleep.
Think about it this way. Picard's really reserved, like closed off, very stern and formal.
Asexual.
It's not fucking interesting at all. The writing is interesting. The character is not. Boom.
Picard is very
You know who's
interesting.
Data is interesting.
Picard is
Riker
incredibly
is interesting.
Why is he so closed off? Why
Chancellor
is he
Troy,
so reserved?
Chancellor Troy is more interesting
Counselor
than he is.
Troy.
Ah, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. Fucking Picard is boring. It's just everything else going on in the entire fucking universe.
Picard
is
is a closed book that everybody wants to figure out. Kirk is an open book that has 3 words in it. Sex, fighting, and self-absorbedness.
Yeah. I can relate to those 3 things.
I can't. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast.
Ah, yeah, how are
I
you?
assume we're back. Make Jack's character.
So, the first thing you're going to need to do, you're going to have to open up a rolling die number generator. So, the first thing you're going to have to do is pick a race. Since you are an oscilloscope, I'm going to go ahead and say you can't be an android, but the races are as follows, with a brief summary of each. So there's humans. Humans are humans. I'm assuming, since you're interacting with one right now, you know what a human is.
Meatbag.
Humans are the baseline for where the stat bonuses and detriments are derived. Then we have the Terralac. Terralacs are very, very big. Think Krogans from Mass Effect 3, but they're not stupid because that would be boring.
Also, anybody listening to the podcast who would like to submit art for the races, go ahead. We'll take any suggestions. We'd love to look at it.
So yeah, big, hulking, thick skin, almost carapace armored from a very dry, arid planet, but not unintelligent. Intelligent, but their morality is very different in that they're very cold. So, natural soldiers. We also have the Torma, which are a highly evolved, intelligent race who kind of have this air of arrogance about them because they are the smartest race in the universe. Mm-hmm. Then we have the Korasp. The Korasps are empaths in that they feel other people's emotions and other people feel their emotions just kind of all the time. And they make very good leaders. They're very good with people. Then we have the Clarons, who are also like a natural leader kind of thing. Very spiritual race is what they are. So they make very, very good psychers. They have a lot of mental fortitude. And then there's androids. And androids, the way their stats work is they have a 180 point buy instead of actually rolling stats. So those are the 6 races that we have currently in this form of Cheatin' the Verse.
Sounds to me like a bunch of bullshit. What makes it different from other games?
Glad that you asked. We tried to diversify the races a little bit. It is hard to kind of deviate from the elf-dwarf human.
The basics.
Yeah.
That everyone kind of copies off.
Or whatever. So, like, the classic dumb brute, we kind of have that in the Terralax, but they're intelligent. So the detriments are more like they're just really big, and that's not a good thing anymore. Mm-hmm. In the Torma, super highly intelligent race, you would think in a sci-fi game that'd be really, really beneficial. But they're so arrogant that they literally get detriments to communicating with people and getting people to be persuaded.
They're not good leaders.
Exactly.
They can't help a team out in that sense.
They can't...
Or talk their way out of something.
Exactly, because they're too much of arrogant pricks, basically.
Yeah, what you would expect from a big brute.
Exactly.
They gotta fight their way out of something.
Yeah. And the Koras are pretty... I'd like to think they're pretty original. Empaths, not really something you see a lot. Maybe you see, like, Mind Flayers, like, I can eat your brain, but empaths can be both beneficial and detrimental to a team in really wildly different scenarios. Like, if a Koras fails a willpower save, if he gets terrified and needs to run away, then everyone else in his party might feel inclined to do that because they're so overpowered with that emotion of terror. And the opposite can be true as well.
So it's kind of like a forceful leader in some situations.
And literally a time bomb in others, depending on the skill of the player and the character.
Well, I think I'm gonna go with that Koras.
Alright.
Sounds like a good RPG element
That's right.
that I'd like to mess around with.
Because the most important thing about role-playing games is role-playing. Coincidentally.
Role-playing games would indeed include a role-play.
Yes. So having a role and something you can build a character off of is of utmost importance. Secondly, we have the three classes. There is Soldier, Scout, and Scoundrel, which is Fighter, Thinker, Talker in that order. Not much to say about them. It's more like what you want to build your background of your character towards and what you want your character to be geared towards. So the Soldier is going to get bonuses to their ability to use weapons and their overall hit points, and a minus to their intelligence and their movement speed. Scouts obviously are going to get an overall bonus to their intelligence and their willpower, but minus to their ability to communicate with people and their use of weapons because they're not fighters. Mm-hmm. And the Scoundrel gets bonus to talking to people and moving, think Aladdin kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a minus to their overall toughness and their mental fortitude. So they can get out of situations in ways other than combat because that's what they need to be able to do. So those are the three classes. Scoundrel has a lot of synergy with Koras. That's generally, if you're going to narrow yourself down.
Yeah. I think, though, the way I'm kind of gearing this character is that I don't want them to, be too mentally stable. I kind of want them to make it their flaw, so I think I'm going to go... The Thinker seems right, because not good with combat, but it also would kind of collude with my whole mental stability if he's really intelligent, so I kind of think I'll go with the Talker.
And finally, the subclasses. There are 4, as of now, skill-based subclasses. And what that means is you have a stat called Knowledge. Knowledge is your ability to use class skills. Only 4 classes have class skills. The other ones have passive bonuses and things like that. So the class skills, for example, the Pilot is a skill-based class. Class skills for Pilot are like combat maneuvering and general piloting, things of that nature. For this Medic, it could be like surgery versus detoxing poisons. The 4 skill-based classes are Pilot, Mechanic, Medic, and Hacker. And then there is also Adjudicator, who is like a natural leader character. He confers a buff to all the other party members. There's the Gunslinger, who's just geared towards combat. That's his whole thing. And there is the Psyker. The Psyker is a funky one. They can do 3 things. They can know things that they shouldn't be able to know. They can excel at things that they've never done before or are not usually very good at.
Okay.
And they can use what's called Blur, which is move faster than they should physically be able to. And in game terms, what that does is know does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you know things you shouldn't be able to know. Excel gives you like 20 to 30% buff in one skill or talent or ability. So if you've never flown a ship before, you can be a Psyker and just miraculously be able to fly a ship. And then Blur can give you another turn in combat.
Okay.
And the downfall of that is, after you declare you're going to use them, you have to make a save versus your own willpower. And if you fail, horrible things happen to you, which can include, but are not limited to, bugs are crawling all over your face. Just get them off in any way possible. Allies become enemies, enemies become allies. You basically eradicate your entire team. Or death. Just brain meltdown. So they're a very dangerous, gambly kind of class to go, but they're definitely an interesting one.
I think I'm going to go with the Psyker, because I'm kind of gearing this character to kind of fail, so someone I want to rise above all those bad things who may end up, hurting everyone around them.
That's right. I dig that. Alright, we have a Psyker Koras. So you are feeling everything they feel and thinking everything they think. That's scary. What we need to do now is roll for your stats. So if you want to take 2 20-sided dice and roll them, and then take that total and add 10 to it and tell me what it is.
13. A 1.
So 24.
So that's a good start.
Statistically improbable. Alright, do that 6 more times.
8. A 7.
25. You got one better, Jack.
That is one better,
That was almost a 20.
but it is a 14.
And 12.
So
36.
10.
10.
And
19.
a 19. So that's
19.
39. Very nice.
You're progressing.
10.
10. So a 30 flat. Very nice. Average.
19. 20, please. 11.
All right, so that's 40. One more time.
Sure.
Get them double crits. 20.
That's
8.
close.
Wow.
That was really close, actually, because the
I know.
20 is above the 8. I mean, that's a double 20 right there, folks.
So your total scores are 24, 25, 36, 39, 30, 40, and 38. 30 is the flat average. That's a 10 in D&D.
Yeah.
So your 7 stats to allocate these to are strength, agility, tenacity, talent, knowledge, willpower, and fellowship. And a lot of those are self-explanatory. Strength has to do with melee strength, how much you can carry, how much you can lift. Agility is literally how far you can move in a turn. Tenacity is literally your hit points. If you put 24 in tenacity, you have 24 hit points.
Yeah.
Talent directs to how well you use weapons. Knowledge is how well you use class skills. Willpower is how easily you're feared or dissuaded from something. And fellowship is your ability to communicate with others. And keep in mind that any class will be able to use other classes' skills. So you can learn to pilot. I just haven't quite implemented it yet.
Yeah, sure thing.
So your highest roll is a 40.
Let me see that real quick, because I don't want to screw myself over in the willpower, being that I'm a Koras Psyker.
Yeah, you definitely want to
Got
put...
some 30s to play with. I know I want to put this 40 somewhere good. I don't want to put into the willpower.
You're definitely going to want a high stat in the willpower. That's something that you probably want.
Actually, yeah, we're gonna put that 40 in the willpower.
Because if you do anything, you now
It's a
have
bit
40%
more.
chance to
It's a
succeed.
bit more detrimental to myself if I don't do that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, 38. Oh no, 39. Let's put that in tenacity.
All right, those are a pretty beefy core asp.
I don't want to die due to my own willpower. Let's see. Let's look for the lowest stat. Fellowship, easy peasy.
Wow, the core asp who can't explain his own feelings. That's pretty good.
That is the character.
That's interesting. That's like a scrawny half orc.
25. I really want to be agile, but then I want to get rid of my strength. I don't know if I want to use guns or if I want to use weaponry.
Well, melee is not as common of a thing in this world, so strength is actually not as important.
Okay.
If you do want to get like a chainsaw sword, then you
Yeah.
could do that, and that may require some strength. Or if you want to use light machine guns, you may need a certain degree of strength.
Yeah, I guess I can place that 25 there then. Now it's a question of I want to be very knowledgeable, very talented,
So it's your movement
or
speed,
very
your
agile.
skill with weapons, or your skill with class skills.
I mean, these are all 30s, which is the lowest. Take that 30 then. Agility, talent. I'll put 38 in there. So that leaves me 36 in the knowledge.
Perfect.
I was hoping to get that the double 20.
Yeah, you
Close.
almost did. Alright, so strength 25. Agility. Actually, I have to edit these. Now, because you picked what you picked, they will change. And these may change before we even do the next podcast. But Chorus get a +5 to fellowship and talent.
We're just trying to show you guys where we're at with character creation. Often the most difficult and grueling part of role-playing games.
Actually, I think it's one of my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's first couple times pretty alright, and then you keep making more characters, and it kind of dies down for me.
I've never been able to stand it.
You've only ever made one character. Just over and over again.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just in different various forms.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Gotta have backup characters. Because usually when I make a character, I kind of just do that factory kind of work, mass producing characters, and I just make like 5 characters at once, and then I use whatever I'm feeling.
Oh my god, sounds horrible.
Not if you're doing it all at the same time. It's a lot of work though.
So, because of the combinations you picked, both Korasps and Scoundrels get minuses to willpower. So,
I think then it's pretty safe that I
it is
did
now
get that.
down to 30 from 40.
Yeah.
But they also both get bonuses to fellowship, so that is now up to 34 from 24. So you really flip the script on that one. So your talent score is 43. Alright, so at level 1 you double your talent score, which will give you 86. And that's how many points you can allocate through your talents.
Alright.
The 3 talents currently are pistol class, heavy class, and assault class. And different sizes and categories of weapons go in there.
Zach,
Yes.
which one is sniper rifle? What class is
Heavy
that?
class.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that you will likely not have the money to afford heavy class weapons in the beginning of the game. And more so, heavy class weapons are by far the most expensive to actually upgrade and use. So, 86 points, allocate freely.
Is there
Those
anything
three.
I can't exceed? Like, can I just put 86 in pistol?
You cannot exceed 50
Alright.
in any one
Ever?
at level 1.
Okay.
You can put 50 in assault, and then every level just put more points into it if you would like.
I think I'll just put 50 in assault to be
Alright.
safe. And
So, pistol class is things like hand cannons and like revolvers, and on the other side of that are like Uzis and auto pistols and things like that. And the cool thing about pistol class weapons is that they can be dual wielded, so they're a little more versatile with what you're doing with your hands and what you're being weighed down by. The assault class kind of breaks into, is this a anti-bio weapon, an anti-mech weapon, like a metal slug kind of thing, or is this just straight up a shotgun, is one other branch of that. And then the heavy class breaks into light machine guns, which are 5-6 attacks per round, or sniper rifles, which are 1 attack per round. And sniper rifles are obviously very high damage, very long range, and light machine guns are the opposite of that. Very low damage per hit, but a lot of chances to hit. So polar opposites, and
So-
both really nifty.
I'm putting 50 in assault, 16 in pistol, and then 10 in heavy, just in case that ever happened to pick up a weapon.
That's 76, you have 10 more.
Oh, I do. I definitely miscounted. 26 pistol.
Very nice. Alright, and we would do equipment, but I do not have all of my notes here.
I'll take 5 flamethrowers, and
I actually have not implemented flamethrowers yet.
Don't go for 5. Just buy the 6-pack.
You
is
save
it
$1
safer
on
to
each
choose
one.
the 6-pack?
It's a better deal.
It's not
I don't need 6. 5 is kind of what I'm looking for, but I guess I can give it away something.
Alright, so, we got the talents done. What we should do now is go over bonds a little bit. Obviously, you don't know the rest of the characters or the players will probably do the rest of the bonds while sitting around people. But, does your character have a name?
I did think of a name earlier, and then I kind of forgot, so...
We'll come back to it if you need.
No, I got it. Let me get that pencil, because I'll get it once I write it down.
We could have him do a bond with the ever-popular fastest pilot in the verse.
Yeah, I think I'm good with this name.
Vix.
Full name is going to be Vixis. Vixiz, and goes just by Vix.
So, we have Vixis, the
Vixis.
Koras scoundrel psyker. Now, Vix, currently you know one other party member of yours, and that is Commander Wickstrom, the android pilot, played by Carrie Banasiak. Now, what I'm going to ask of you today, to create a bond with either yourself or with Carrie. And to explain what bonds are, again, just paradigms between two characters that can be resolved. And we'll reward you in experience points when you resolve them.
I think I got it down.
You got one?
I'm going to put down, do I trust this pilot with my life, but more importantly, do I trust him with my secret?
Okay.
And
So
I've already told you what that secret was earlier.
Right.
Let's do a straightforward one, too.
That's pretty
just for
straightforward.
example.
So, do I trust Commander Wickstrom with my life because he is my pilot? And more importantly, do I trust him with my secret?
He's secretly the president of the galaxy.
President
Turned
of the galaxy.
vigilante.
Yep.
Wow, that would be an interesting story.
Good movie.
What?
Based on
Be
a true
good
story.
movie. From the novel adaptation, from the manga, better known from the anime.
That was elaborate.
Based on a folklore.
Alright, I want to do a bond.
Based on folk.
I wanted-
based on a Germanic, Scandinavian,
Based on
Swedish
from
folklore.
folklore into anime. They're known as the manga adaptation into a movie.
Anyways, moving on. So.
I want to do a bond with Vix's
Vix.
Psyker.
Yep.
Psyker Korasp.
So this
Not having an organic conscious, I could not possibly conceive what it's like to be a Psyker. I want to see what I can learn from him.
So
That's really vague. I really like it vague.
this character paradigm between these two is very interesting because Vix is wondering if who he can trust, and he needs trying to making a friend.
Yeah.
Sure. Because he emits his own emotions and he can kind of dig into people's minds, which is freaky.
Kind of with that low fellowship, it's kind of like, I can't express that either.
Exactly. But Commander Wickstrom is an android, so he doesn't have emotions in the same way. He's not as affected by Koras. Moreover, an android's mind, he's a little more closed off, he's a little more resistant to that.
I don't know if a Psyker would be able to read an
Exactly
android.
what I was thinking. Commander Wickstrom is thinking this is interesting instead of being afraid by it. And because he's not afraid, Vix is more open to sharing and attaching to him.
Well, if I might, I will do, as I often do, reference Star Trek The Next Generation, the episode where the Enterprise D stumbled upon a xenophobic race that wished to remain undiscovered, wiped the memories of everybody on board, but they couldn't wipe Data's memory because he was a machine. So they wiped everybody's memory, and Picard commanded Data never tell us what happened, because he's a machine, he can be programmed,
Yeah.
especially by a commanding officer, and what's more, a captain. Then everyone realizes basically how it starts is they all get knocked out for 5 seconds. It was actually a day. Data tells them it was 5 seconds.
Right.
Everyone figures out that it wasn't.
All right, so we have Vix, who is wondering if he can trust Commander Wickstrom, who is intrigued by Vix. And that's the character creation for today. We can't really do equipment because I don't have my resources with me.
Can't do anything about any ships.
Yeah, we're still working on ships. So it looks like that's pretty much all we got for today. Thanks for joining us on the Cheatin' the Verse podcast. I'm Zach.
And this is Carrie.
And I'm Jack.
And we are here to tell you, keep looking in the direction that relative to your position on the planet is up.